Hi, Lloyd Chapman here, President and Founder of the American Small Business League, and we've got a new press release going out that is interesting, and the title is Small Business Administration to be headed by unknown bureaucrat. So, SBA Administrator Karen Mills resigned 6 months ago. She's a member of the President's Cabinet. And today it was announced that Mills has actually appointed what I'll call the acting administrator, a woman named Jeannie Hewlett. So I'm sure you've all heard of Jeannie Hewlett. She's a household name. Everybody knows when you think small business, boom, Jeannie Hewlett. Okay, that's who comes to mind. I think she was up for Miss Small Business, I think, for last year. I'm not sure. So here we are in the worst economic downturn in 80 years. Unemployment, is high. According to the Census Bureau, small businesses are responsible for over 90% of the net new jobs. Small businesses employ half the private sector workforce. They're responsible for half the gross domestic product. And again, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, over 90% of U.S. exporters are small businesses. So, the most efficient, effective economic stimulus program in U.S. history is a federal law that requires that 23% of all government contracts should go to small businesses, which I think makes the SBA the single most important agency in Washington when it comes to creating jobs. I saw, I think it was yesterday, a survey that showed that the number one issue for voters was the economy, and number two was jobs. Let's think about it, folks. So according to the Census Bureau, they're a conspiracy nuts, obviously. 90% of all the net new jobs come from small businesses. We've got the Small Business Administration. President Obama's had 6 months to appoint a replacement. And for the first time in your lifetime, a member of the President's Cabinet has named their replacement Jeannie Hewlett. And as far as I can tell, Jeannie Hewlett's only experience with small business is the cleaner she goes to down the street from her house to pick up her laundry. So here we have another completely inexperienced, no-name person that shouldn't be running the SBA anymore, and they should be running, NASA. By the way, I recommended that Pat Gustafson be the new SBA administrator. She's been the Inspector General for, I think, 6 years. She's the one that's uncovered all the problems at the SBA, and she should be running it. By the way, if you don't already know, every year that President Obama has been in office, Pat Gustafson, the SBA Inspector General who was appointed by President Obama, has named the diversion of federal small business contracts to corporate giants as the number one problem every year for, 6 consecutive years. By the way, before her, other Inspector Generals has named that as the number one problem for 9 consecutive years. So here's the truth. Obama's going to try to close the SBA to cover up the rampant fraud and abuse that's gone on every day that he's been president. And it's not your little old conspiracy nut here, Lloyd, that thinks that. It's the SBA Inspector General, the Government Accountability Office, NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN, the Washington Post have all reported on it. And let me close with my favorite thing to close these videos with, which is a statement from the Government Accountability Office after investigating the SBA, and here's what they said. By failing to hold firms accountable, the SBA and contracting agencies have sent a message to the contracting community that there is no punishment or consequences for committing fraud. What's that sound like to you? Have sent a message to the contracting community that there's no punishment or consequences for committing fraud. Sounds to me like the Government Accountability Office is trying to say that the SBA is encouraging people to commit fraud. Well, that's a federal crime, by the way, under Section 16D, punishable by 10 years in prison. So that's the real reason that Obama hasn't appointed a replacement for Mills. He's going to try to close the SBA under the guise of combining with the Commerce Department. He says to save $300 million a year. By the way, did you know that he's going to spend $7 billion a year to build power plants in Africa? So ask yourself, you an American? Let's see, 28 million small businesses where most Americans work, where over 90% of the net new jobs are created, and Obama's going to try to close that agency, he says, to save $300 million a year while he spends $7 billion to build power plants in Africa. Obama's $7 billion to build power plants in Africa, by the way, would fund the SBA for a decade and fund his $300 million a year savings for 23 years. So Obama's a liar. Don't let him close the only agency in America to help the 28 million small businesses where most Americans work. Thanks for watching. Lloyd Chapman with the American Small Business League. Thanks.